Hi there, so today I'm going to show you how to apply on your pedicure wraps. I've got one foot done here. This is the Joyful Celebration, one of our holiday exclusives. And on this toe, I'm going to show you how to put on your big toe and on your little toe. And please excuse my fingernails. They are naked at the moment, and that's because I'm about to put on some new holiday wraps. So anyway, I'm going to show you how to put these on. In your sheet, you're going to get two pedicures, and it's the two largest wraps. So I like to use this one for my big toe, just because it fits it nicely, and then I'll cut this one. I'll cut it across halfway, and then long ways, and then again halfway between each of those halves. And because of this design, I would cut it a little differently, just to make sure most of my toes could get some of this silver, but I'm not actually going to use this one. I'll be using this one, which I've already cut up into. So I'll use this other half for my big toe, and then I'll use one of these little squares I have left for my other little toe. My pinky toes are too small, and I can't apply the wraps on those toes. It's just not worth it. So one thing I'd like to stress is your prep. It's very important to make sure your toenails are clean. I have massive cuticles on my toes, so what I like to use is I'll push them back, and I just use warm water, or you can use cuticle oil to soften the cuticles. And then I'll use a cuticle trimmer, and this is really nice because I can really get into and trim off this cuticle because mine will grow up halfway up my toenail. So anyway, I've already done that prep. And I'll always do a quick clean with some alcohol, rubbing alcohol, before I apply my wraps. So I'm going to take my big toe wrap here. I'm going to pull it up off the backing, and I'm going to heat it up. And these are the sparkly glitter wraps, and they're a little bit thicker, so I like to make sure they get extra heat, especially on toes. On toes I'll apply more heat anyway. So I'm going to line this up right to my cuticle. This is going to be pretty standard, just like you would on your fingernails. Grab this. I'm touching the top here, but that part's going to get cut off, so I'm not worried about the oils on my toenail. So I'm just putting it on. I'm going to rub it out. I have a little extra here on the edge, which I'm just going to quickly trim, if you can see what I'm doing here. And I'm just going to trim off that extra on the side. And then I'll tuck it in with my rubber cuticle pusher here. And then I'll trim off the top. So one thing I like to do with my toenails rather than my fingernails is I will clip off this excess. It's too hard to file because I keep my toenails short. So if I use my clippers, I can just clip off that excess, and it gives it a nice seal on the top. So I'm going to do that real quick. So it's nice and flush. Oh, let me get this corner here. I like to make sure I get the corners so that there's no chance of it snagging up. So it's right on there real good, and then I'm going to give it lots of good heat. Let's see if I can angle myself here. With my toenails, I put a lot more heat than I would on my fingernails, and it's just because I really want to make sure it's sealed well, especially on my little toes. There's just not a lot of toenail there, and so I need to make sure there's plenty of heat to soften the adhesive and make it bond well to my nail. So I'll just smooth this out with my rubber cuticle pusher. And that one's done. So the tricky part, and the question I get asked the most, is how to do these little toes, because you're not going to get a perfect round shape from when you trim it down. So what I'll do, I'll just pick one of these rectangles here, and let me make sure that one, yep, that'll fit. So I'm going to heat it up. I'm going to place it just right on my toe, and I'm going to allow, so if you can see, I've got the rectangle on my toe. It's right up with my cuticle here, but it's very squared, and we don't want to leave it squared like this. Otherwise, up here on your skin, the oils in your skin will peel this up and they'll fall off faster. I can keep these on my toes up to 6 weeks, and it's because I make sure I trim these really well. So I've pressed it up into my cuticle here, and I can see where my nail ends on these corners. So what I'm going to do is take my scissors, and I'm going to go on one end, and I'm just going to kind of get it up under along the edge of my skin and in between, so I'm in between my skin and my toenail, and I'm just up under that wrap, and I'm going to trim it right around the edge so it sizes it up perfectly. I'm going to do it on the other side. Make sure I get up under there good. Okay. Get rid of that extra. So now what it looks like, let's see if you can see this, is I've got it on my toenail and it's sized around my cuticle. I'm even going to kind of push in and tuck it in, really press it out, make sure it's lined up well. And then I'm going to add more heat because I really want to make sure that wrap sticks to my toenail. It's just so tiny, there's not a lot of room, and we don't want it falling off. So press it out again. So it looks really good. I even have a little bit of a corner here, and I'm kind of OCD, so I'm going to trim that so it's more rounded. And I can just get right up under there, just trim off just that little bit so it looks more rounded and more like it had been painted on. Okay, so then I'm going to trim off the top. And I'm going to use my clippers to just clip it and seal that top edge because I don't want it peeling up. And by the time I move on to my next set of wraps, my toenails have grown out quite a bit, so I will wait to trim them for when I'm putting on my next set, because then there's plenty of nail left to trim down. Okay. So that top looks pretty good. If you can see that, I've trimmed it right down. So I don't want it to look like a square or a rectangle sticker just sticking on my nail. I want to make sure it looks flush on my nail. And I'm going to go ahead and add more heat, plenty of heat, because I want to make sure that it seals really well. And I'll just press it down some more and really get up in the cuticle side to make sure it's sealed really well. And I'm just going to trim this so it looks even. And there you have it. My little cute petty wraps. And then there's that side, which I had done previously. So that's that. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I hope that was helpful. Thanks.